Hi, that guy in the red shirt there, that's me. My name is TK. And that guy on the right at the beach, that's me too, except that's me when I weighed 70 pounds more than I do today. Today, I want to share with you a big secret that you might not be aware of. And that big secret's this: all diet and exercise programs are only temporary weight loss solutions. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, TK, what the heck are you talking about? Who wants to lose weight temporarily? I know I didn't, and I don't think you do either. So today I'm going to share with you why diet and exercise programs don't work for permanent weight loss. And I'm also going to share with you what does work and why. Before we get started, I want to share a quick little story with you. When I was a young boy, I always had a vision of what my life would be like. Yes, that's me back in the day. Cute kid, right? But anyways, back to my story. I figured I would finish high school, go off to college, I would get a nice degree, I would land a good job, I'd meet a nice girl, we'd fall in love, get married, buy a house, have a kid, maybe two, get a dog and a cat. We move to a nice community, have nice cars, the whole ball of wax. Now, don't ask me where I got these crazy ideas. I attribute it to watching too much Leave It to Beaver as a kid. But the funny thing about it is my vision came true. I had the perfect partner, a great job, two awesome kids. I had the dog and the cat. We had a nice house. We drove a nice car. We lived in a great community. But what about me? What would I be like? That's one thing I never thought about when I was a kid growing up. Unfortunately, this is how I turned out. Now, don't get me wrong, I achieved my goals, but I found myself 70 pounds overweight, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart palpitations, my hair was thinning, and I was going gray fast. Bottom line, I really wasn't happy with my body. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I was always tired. I got sick all the time. I had low energy. I was totally out of shape physically, even though I worked out all the time. And it was totally uncomfortable just bending over to tie my own shoe. Basically, I was miserable in my own body. So you probably asked yourself, or you probably asked me, TK, how did this happen to you? Well, for me, it didn't happen overnight. It just happened slowly over time, and so slowly that my family didn't even notice it. My wife, my kids, they just thought it was just me. So to demonstrate how this might happen, or how this happened to me, I'm going to do a quick math problem. And don't worry, it'll be easy. So I got married pretty young. I got married at 23, and I was at my heaviest when I turned about 33. And so that's 33 minus 23. That's a 10-year period. Easy enough, right? We all know that I had gained 70 pounds. So the formula might be total weight gain equals years times the weight gain per year. Easy enough, right? So 70 pounds equals 10 years times G. We solve for G. It's 7 pounds per year. So how much would I have to gain if I looked at this on a monthly basis? Well, that would be 7 pounds per year divided by 12. That would be about 0.58 pounds per month. Now, I don't know about the scale at your house, but the scale at my house, that 0.58 pounds, that's a rounding error. I mean, I can go to the bathroom and lose that much weight. So you can see how easily something like this can sneak up on you, and it sure snuck up on me. At this point in my life, I hit a fork in the road, and I had to make a decision. I said to myself, by the time you're 40, I want you to be in the best shape of your life. Maybe not as good as this guy, but in really good shape nonetheless. So I spent the next 6 years of my life trying all the different diets. I joined all the gyms. I even bought the exercise equipment. I had one of those Bowflex machines in my garage. I mean, who wouldn't want to look like the Bowflex guy, right? That guy's awesome. Anyways, along comes my 39th birthday, and I'm not anywhere close to where I wanted to be. And so I said, TK, you gotta get serious here. It's only 12 months till your birthday. This is the year. You gotta make it happen. So I spent that next 10 months working as hard as I could and trying to do the best with my food and just working as hard as I could at losing that weight. And I did make significant progress. About 60 days before my birthday, I was made some good progress, but I knew I wasn't going to quite make where I wanted to be. So this guy opening a fitness studio down the street from my house, so I called him up on the phone and gave him the rundown. I said, hey, Chris, here's the deal. It's 60 days before my birthday, and I promised myself by the time I turned 40 that I would look like this guy. I said, Chris, is there anything you can do? After some awkward silence, he said, sure, come on down to the gym or the studio and we'll figure it out. And so we spent the next 60 days working out together, and I did lose my goal. I met my goal weight, and I was happy about that. But still, I wasn't quite where I wanted to be. So we spent, there we are working out. That's Chris. He's always smiling, by the way. But we spent the next 3 years working out together. And every year I got in better and better and better shape. And I found that to maintain this body, I was working out 8 times a week. And that meant I had to see Chris 8 times per week. Oh, actually, not really. I actually joined another gym and went there 4 times a week, and then saw Chris 4 times a week. But together, I had to work out 8 times per week. And for me, that was insanity. I knew my body couldn't take it, and I knew there had to be a better way. That's when by accident I kind of fell into looking at my food, mainly for performance and recovery reasons. But once I nailed my food down, I found I could take that 8 times per week and reduce it to 3 times per week and still maintain the body that I wanted and the weight I wanted. And the best part of it was easy and effortless. Now, that made me happy, and I wanted to share this information with as many people as I could. So what I did was I got certified in fitness nutrition, and then I started to do research. I studied all the experts and all the, institutions that were researching the topics of weight loss. So I started with obesity. I figured that would be a good place to start. If I could figure out how obesity works, I could figure out for sure I can help people lose weight. But that very quickly led me into the research of diabetes, and that led me into heart disease, and then cancer, and then a host of other chronic diseases. And so, when you follow researchers, they tend to go deep into their topic, and they're experts in what they study and research. But a lot of times I don't think they step back and look at what the other research and what the other literature says. And I had the luxury over the last 2.5 years to do that. And what I started to see is some commonalities. And what the common thing that was across all of these things was the food. So that was fascinating to me. And when you study all these diseases and food, you tend to learn some other things along the way. And that's how we traditionally have grown our food and eaten our food. You learn about the industrial food system and how that kind of has taken over. You learn about our medical industry and our pharmaceutical industry and how their focus is on curing the symptoms and not necessarily the underlying cause of the problem. You learn about our government, how the government agencies work, and you learn about the politics surrounding all of this. Another thing that I fell into that was not planned, but was a surprise, but turned out to be key, was the study of the brain. Learning how habits work, learning how addictions work, learning how cravings work. Also studying a lot of marketing. I mean, who knows better how the brain works than the people that market to us? So when I put all these pieces together, the light bulb came on. It became crystal clear to me of the trap that I was in. I call it the diet trap. It was just a cycle of never ending losing weight and gaining weight and never be able to keep it off permanently. In addition, when I looked at all these pieces of the puzzle, it was very clear to me where we're at as a society. If you look at the news, obesity, cancer, heart disease, these are our top killers, and they're all related to what we're eating or not eating, as the case may be. So that was my journey, and I think that'll be helpful when we start talking about the whole reason you're listening to this little video is why diet and exercise don't work. So let's get right into that. The first question I have is for you. How do we lose weight? I mean, what's the approach to losing weight? And everyone will answer very similar. They'll say, well, that's easy, TK. You got to eat less and exercise more, right? I mean, every physician, dietitian, personal trainer, monkey's uncle knows this. It's common knowledge. Okay, so let's look at this. Where did this come from? Well, it stems from the first law of thermodynamics. And as it relates to weight loss, theory goes that if we eat less calories and we burn more calories, well, then we'll lose weight. And likewise, it works both ways. If you eat more calories and burn less calories, then you're going to gain weight. And so that seems pretty straightforward. But what if this theory was false? What if it didn't work? What if it's flawed? Now, don't get me wrong. The first law of thermodynamics is physics. We can't really change that. But what if there's something else going on? So what I want to look at is calories. What I want to look at is the concept of a calorie is not a calorie. And what I mean by that is, what if all calories aren't the same? And to demonstrate this, let's look at something. Let's look at broccoli, and let's look at a cupcake. So let's take 100 calories of each of these, so it's the same amount of energy. But I don't want to look at what these 100 calories of each of these does to our energy balance. what I want to look at is what does these calories do to our biochemistry? And what I mean by biochemistry, I mean our internal program. So our chemistry runs everything in our body. It runs how much fat we have, when to eat, when not to eat, when to drink water. All these things that happen in our body are driven by our hormones and our internal programming. So what if, theoretically, that this cupcake actually alters our internal programming and reprograms our internal program to slightly overeat in the slightest little bit? That could be a problem. And to demonstrate this, how big of a problem it could be, let's go back to that little math problem we did earlier. For me, I had to gain 0.58 pounds per month to gain 70 pounds over the 10-year period, right? So how much is that per day? Well, everyone knows a pound of fat is 3,500 calories, and half a pound is about 1,750 in about 30 days. So that's about 60 calories per day I would have to overeat to gain 70 pounds in the 10-year period. And that's not a lot. So you can see how if our programs internally are off slightly without us wanting that or even realizing it, that it could be a problem for us. So this is one of the key factors that I like to consider when we talk about permanent weight loss. Another key factor that I look at for permanent weight loss is food addictions. I think it's, science has shown that certain foods are addicting to our brain, and that we potentially sometimes even need more and more and more of the same type of food to get the same satisfaction level from the first time that we tried it. But to demonstrate this as an example, I like to use this. Let's say that someone came up to me and said, TK, if you want to have the perfect body composition, if you want to avoid all these chronic diseases that are plaguing our country, obesity, diabetes, cancers, heart disease, all these things, all you have to do is stop eating broccoli. That's all you have to do is stop eating broccoli. I'd say, okay, I like broccoli. I eat it every day and it makes me feel good. But, if I can avoid all this, heck, I would give up tomorrow in a heartbeat. Heck, I'd give up right now. But what if that same person came to me and said, TK, you can have all this, except you have to give up your potato chips, or you have to give up your cookies, or you have to give up whatever it is that you really like? Well, for me, my answer would be, well, yeah, I could probably do that, but I need a plan. I need to think about how I'm going to phase this out of my lifestyle, and I'll start on Monday and tackle that, and this is my plan. So that's a totally different answer than I had with the broccoli. Broccoli, I cut cold turkey, where the chips or whatever it is, I had to think about it a little bit more. So there's something else going on in my brain that's not as cut and dry. So there's some qualities of certain types of foods that I feel are addicting, and that plays a role in this permanent weight loss scenario that we got to think about. The next factor I want to talk about in relation to permanent weight loss is something I call the body thermostat, the body fat thermostat. And that sounds really interesting, right? But this is, our body likes to be at a certain weight, and it works both ways, really. When you lose weight, and your body tends to want to go back up to where it was before. And if you are one of those people that need to gain weight, it's very difficult for them to gain weight, and their body will actually push them back down to where they were before. So it kind of works both ways, but it's very interesting. It's really a survival mechanism. I mean, when we were hunters and gatherers, the only thing we had to worry about is having enough food and then not being killed by a wild animal, right? And so those are stresses on our body, and our body responded appropriately, as the case may be. And nowadays we don't have those stresses because we don't have to worry about starving, really, and we don't have to worry about eating by animal, but we have other stresses in our life. We have emotional stresses, we have work pressure, we have fear, we have toxins in our environment, we have, basically a famine, because a lot of times we starve ourselves on these crazy diets. We're not getting the nutrients that we need. So our body responds to these stresses, and body fat might be one way to do that. So that's that's one thing that kind of regulates this, quote unquote body fat thermostat that I like to talk about. So that's another factor that we need to consider when we talk about, permanent weight loss. The next one I want to touch on is genetics. And you're saying, okay, great, I'm doomed to be fat. It's all my mom's fault, right? That's not exactly what I'm saying here. When I talk about genetics, we all come from different ancestors, a different line of where our ancestors grew up. They all originated from different parts of the globe. They all thrived off of different types of foods. They were all basically healthy. And so over thousands and thousands of years of eating this way, their genes kind of changed to accommodate the types of foods that we're eating. So that's why, for me, I feel nutrition is very unique to the individual, and that we all, it should be very customized to me. Now, having said that, I think 80 to 90% of all the food that we should eat is similar, kind of the same type of food. But it's that last 10, 20% that needs to be customized to your body type based on your genetics. So that's another thing you really need to look at. That's why, I don't think there's one diet that's right for everybody. The next kind of factor I would like to touch on is what I call willpower. You're saying, great, yeah, we can all use some more of that, right? The funny thing about willpower is, science has showed we have a limited amount of willpower to give. And in our environment, when it takes us 7 decisions to order a cup of coffee, when we got to get our kids to school and soccer practice, we got to deal with our spouse, we got to work at school and deal with our bosses and our teachers and our clients, and then we got to manage all the emails that come in every day. We got to worry about our bills, figure out what's for dinner, feed the cat, do the laundry, check Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social media stuff that we do. When you put all these things together, and each one of those decisions kind of nips away at the already limited amount of willpower that we have to give each day. By the time you get home from work or school and you have to make the decision to eat healthy and or exercise, when all you really want to do is sit on the couch, order a pizza, have a glass of wine, and watch TV, do you really think you have enough willpower to make that decision? It's just, a lot of times it's just not going to happen. So what we have to do is we have to get the decision of eating healthy and or exercising and or both out of being relied on from our pool of willpower. If we are always relying on our willpower to make us eat healthy and go to the gym, eventually it's not going to happen. And so we have to figure out a way to get that to happen more naturally. If you go onto Amazon right now and search on diet books, you're going to come back with results of over 75,000 books on diets. And most of them are based on manipulation of macronutrients, calories in, calories out. And don't get me wrong, you can lose weight on a diet, but unless that diet addresses why your body wants to be fat, that thermostat we talked about, unless the diet is customized to your body type, the genetics we talked about, unless it addresses the food addictions that you may or may not have in a permanent way, unless the diet addresses, if that doesn't require you to use your willpower to stay on the diet, unless all those things happen, as soon as you go off the diet, you're going to gain all the weight back. And it's the same thing with exercise. Most experts will say to lose weight, it's 80% of what you eat and 20% of the exercise you do. And everyone will kind of agree upon this. Unfortunately, when I started, I spent 100% of my time on the exercise, which is only give me 20% of my ultimate goal, which is a bar. But what if we spent, 100% of our effort on the food? That would give us 80% of the results that we wanted, and we wouldn't even have to step one foot in the gym. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Unfortunately, most of us are focused on the exercise, and it's the same with food. As soon as you stop exercising, you'll gain all the weight back, even though it is only 20% of your goal anyways. But that's kind of a bummer, and that was my life, and that's what I went through, and that's why I created, the Total Transformation, is to take all the knowledge I've gained over the last 2.5 years, plus all the experiences I've had throughout my whole life about what didn't work, and share this with as many people as I can and get them off that crazy diet trap and that exercise trap that we're all on that just doesn't work. So today I want to share with you a little bit about how my transformation program works and how I work with my clients to basically transform them into permanent weight loss. So I start with nutrition. First, we got to eliminate any foods that are reprogramming the biochemistry. I mean, that's the bottom line. If food is altering how your body works, then that's going to be a problem forever. Next is adding required nutrients. A lot of times our body is just starved for nutrients, the things that it needs to function properly. And if it doesn't get it, it's just going to ask for more and more food. So we got to get that, make sure your body's getting everything it needs. And then we got to detoxify. And this is not a juice fast or some kind of crazy detoxification week or whatever. It's introducing foods that detox your body naturally on a daily basis, because there's lots of toxins in our environment and there's lots of toxins in our foods, and we have to get that stuff out. Next is we got to make sure the food's right for you, for your body, and we listen to your body and manipulate to where you get the formula that works best for your body. Once you get your nutrition in order, you're going to be this fine-tuned machine. You can really hear what your body is telling you, because every day your body is sending you some messages that you need to listen to. But a lot of times when our nutrition is not right, we can't hear it. The next thing I really focus on is education. This is a big one. You need to understand how food works. You need to understand how your body works. You need to understand how your brain works, how the food industry works. You need to understand how the medical industry and pharmaceutical industry works in relation to your health problems. You need to understand the history of food and the politics of food, so you understand where we're at as a society. You need to understand how diseases work, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, other chronic diseases, and you need to understand how your immune system can protect you from these and what you can do to support that. In addition, we learn about stress and toxins and, of course, the proper way to exercise. Now, you're saying, geez, TK, that sounds a lot of stuff to learn. And it's true, it is a lot, but I make it easy, and I've kind of fine-tuned and got the best of the best information to deliver to my clients. But unless you have this knowledge in your brain, it's going to be very difficult for you to make different decisions. And so this education is really super important in the process. The next is reprogramming. This is the fun part. So we have to address any old issues. So a lot of times food is related to, emotional traumas that we had at a younger age, or relationship problems, or whatever it is. So we have to address that and get that resolved, because your body's, again, just trying to protect you. So we need to get those things addressed. Next is any addictions you might have to foods. So we have to work on those and get those taken care of. Next, we got to reprogram habits. Science has showed that we can't eliminate old habits. We just have to understand them, and once you understand how they work, we can reprogram around them, because they will always be there. Next, we need to create new healthy habits that you want in your life, and so you learn how to do that. And lastly, we have to remove, and this is key, remove reliance on willpower, meaning that you can't always be consciously trying to eat good and exercise. You need to make that just part of what you do. And to do that, we set new programs in motion in your brain, meaning that we create these new habits that are always working without you thinking about it. And so your body's always looking for ways to eat better, be healthy, be more fit. And this is just without you even consciously being aware of this happening. When you talk to, people that lost weight over and kept it off for a period of time, you're going to hear them say one word, and this is something I've heard in common listening to a lot of different people talk, and that word is effortless. Once you kind of figure all this out, the weight loss is effortless. You don't think about what you eat. You just eat what your body tells you, and you don't have to worry about weight. There's nothing to it. And that's where we need to get anyone that wants to lose weight permanently needs to be in that mode of effortlessness. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, geez, TK, this is a lot of stuff to take in, and it looks like it's going to take a lot of time. And you're absolutely right. And it's funny, in our society, we tend to want to get to point A to point B as quickly as we can. And that's just human nature. And, a lot of times I'll have to send my clients off to try those crazy diets or the 90-day exercise program. And once they go through that and understand it's not going to work for them, then they can come back to me and we can take the permanent approach. But it's just human nature to want to get there as quickly as possible. And that's why all these diet programs and lose, six-pack abs in 6 days and all these things, all these promises are great and they sound good, but that's not how our body actually works. The body has to go through, for me, it took 10 years to get in the shape I was in. And do I really expect that I was going to reverse that in 6 days or 90 days? The body needs some time to readjust, to reprogram itself, to settle back into the new way of doing things. And it's not just something that happens overnight. So, it's funny when I work with people, I think the biggest fear people have, and I know I had this in the beginning too, is I was always afraid that I have to give up the things I loved. I was just so addicted to so many different things, and I just fear, okay, I'll start this diet next week and then I'll give up whatever it is. And the funny thing about it is I still eat the same things that I used to crave so much. Now, again, you're not in the same exact version of that. It might be a different version, and it's not in the same quantities that it used to be, and maybe not even the same frequencies, but I still have the same things that I've had if I really wanted them. And I don't restrict anything from my diet. I allow myself to have whatever it is I want. Now, having said that, the things I want today are much different than what I wanted 7 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even last year. My cravings are always changing, and it's happening without me even thinking about it. Now, I always tell my clients you don't have to give up anything you don't want to, and that's true. And it's my job to make sure that the things that are causing problems for their body is the things that they eventually will phase away. And so that's what the total transformation is all about. So I hope that the takeaway is you have a better understanding about why, in my opinion, diet and exercise programs don't work for long-term weight loss. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Because you really don't want to lose weight. What you want is to keep it off. And diet and exercise programs, I have done this for many years, and I've lost weight, and I've always gained it back. And I think many people I talk to have done the same thing. And if that doesn't work, why do we keep on doing it? A lot of it is because we think of us as the failure. And it's funny, diet and exercise programs are a great business model because they don't quite work. A diet, for instance, like you can lose weight on the diet, but as soon as you go off it, then you'll gain the weight back for the reasons we talked about. And then what happens is the author of the diet blames you because you went off the diet. And you blame yourself because you feel like a failure because you went off the diet. The same thing with exercise. You go to the gym, you're working out January 1st, and you make some great progress. February 1st, you kind of slack off and give up, and you put the weight back on. You stop going to the gym, and it's you blame yourself. Oh, I didn't have the willpower to go to the gym. I got too busy at work or whatever. And you blame you when in reality, the whole philosophy of calories in, calories out was a flawed way of losing weight to begin with. And so this is such a great business model because it's never ever going to work, and you're always going to end up blaming yourself, and you're always going to try more and different diets and different exercise programs until you find something you want, when in reality none of them are going to work permanently. Until you address all those issues we talked about, that's when it'll happen in a permanent way. So I hope this all made sense. I know it was a lot of information to take in, and I appreciate you hanging in there with me. If some of this resonated with you, I'd really invite you to go to my website, tkstotaltransformation.com. Read some more information there. If it still sounds good to you, I click on the Start Your Transformation button, and all that happens there is I'll just ask for your name and an email address, and I'll email you back. We'll hop on the phone and chat for a little bit. I'll learn a little bit more about you. I'll explain the program a little bit more. And if we both feel it's a good fit, we can move forward from there. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you found it beneficial, and I wish you the best of luck in your journey. And I want you to know I would be honored to be a part of your journey in any way that I can. I would love to share my experiences, my knowledge with you to help you get to where you need to be faster.